Welcome to Breaking Through Health Barriers. This is your host, Dr. Terry Wenner, bringing you wisdom and encouragement for healthy living because you're totally worth it. I'm an educator, a registered nurse, a podcaster, and a blogger, and I'm so glad you decided to listen in today. This is episode 5, where we will be discussing 3 things: the platinum rule, gratitude, and sugar-free gum. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is the platinum rule. Have you heard of it? We've all heard of the golden rule, right? And many of us try to live by that. But the golden rule originated from the Bible, from Luke 6:31. The New International Version says, "Do unto others as you would have them do to you." So that's something pretty common. We've all heard of that. However, there are some folks out there who believe that the golden rule is a bit lacking. For example, Doctors Tony Alessandra and Michael O'Connor are authors of the book named The Platinum Rule and several other products that are based on that same principle. And they have a different perspective. They say that the golden rule implies the basic assumption that other people would like to be treated the way you would like to be treated. And that may not necessarily be true. Instead, they propose a different rule called the platinum rule, which says that we should treat others the way they want to be treated. So the platinum rule accommodates feelings of others. The focus of relationship shifts from "this is what I want, so I'll give everyone the same thing," to "let me first understand what they want and then I'll give it to them," which I totally agree that makes a lot of sense. I did a little research on platinum and gold to try to figure out what these two things were really about. Platinum is a metal that's known for being very pliable, meaning it can bend without breaking. But gold is actually the most malleable metal. So it's the most pliable metal, and therefore it's often used for fine jewelry. It can be hammered out much thinner, and you can get the product that you want that's nice and lightweight and very beautiful. So as I was reading a little further about platinum versus gold, I found that each has pros and cons. So platinum holds diamonds and other precious gems in place more securely. However, they will also scratch more easily. Interestingly, because of those things, some jewelers will recommend combining the two to obtain the benefits of both. So they will recommend a platinum setting to hold the stone in place with a gold band that won't scratch as easily. So let's talk a little bit separately about the golden rule and the platinum rule. So first, the golden rule. You have to be really careful about pulling a verse out of the Bible to stand on its own, pulling it out of context. Because when you do that, it can really lose some of its full meaning. For example, if I were to write down my street address, but only gave you the name of the street, like Main Street or Broad Street, would you have any idea how to find me? Yes, it's helpful information, but not quite helpful enough. How many main streets or broad streets are there across the United States, or better yet, across the world? Where would you even begin to look for someone on Main Street or Broad Street? You need more information. So, the same holds true for many scripture verses. They just lose their value if they're taken out of context. You need the other sentences that kind of go along with it. So let's look back at Luke again, and this time we're going to look at verses 27 through 31, not just 31. So this section in the Bible is titled "Love for Enemies." "But to those who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you." So when you look at this verse, I want to pull out the verbs. So we have some verbs: love, do good, bless, pray, and give without reservation. What I don't see in any of these verbs is any sign of selfishness. This scripture verse is not talking about possessions or what I want to give or what you might want to receive. It's about loving enemies and other people who don't appear to really be on our side or very friendly. This verse is talking about love, we're called to love them anyway. So you can see how pulling that verse out hasn't really done justice. It kind of makes it look like we're talking about possessions and, what somebody might want. And that's really not the original intention of it at all. So now let's switch to talking about the platinum rule. So I want to start with a story for you. This, goes back to my high school days, now that I'm thinking about it. My friend Stephanie, who at the time we considered each other best friends, used to exchange Christmas gifts, So it happens to be, that December 25th lands in a pretty cold time of year, and girls in high school tend to like clothing items, so we often exchange sweaters. So now here's the thing. Stephanie loved primary colors, and I loved pastels. So what do you think we did? She bought me primary colored sweaters and I bought her pastel. Both of us gave what we would have liked to receive, but neither of us actually got what we would have preferred to receive. And it took us a while to figure this out, but maturity has a way of showing you things, and eventually we realized that this wasn't really a helpful behavior, so we were able to change that. So now we've looked at the golden rule and the platinum rule. I'm not ready to toss out the golden rule. I think that it has a place. I think it has an appropriate time to be used. But I'm also kind of liking this platinum rule too, So I think that we have to look at it as if both are valuable, not that it's an either or situation. It is important to meet people where they are, to meet their desires when you can. If someone tells you they like chocolate, giving them strawberry is not going to quite measure up. So I do think that we really need to find a way to utilize both. But, we also have a dilemma. With both of these rules, there's a bit of a, perplexing situation. I'm going to reread them just to kind of freshen our minds with them. Do to others as you would have them do to you, and treat others the way they want to be treated. The problem here is that we're relying on human beings. Individuals can sometimes get off kilter, and they may feel they deserve harm or punishment. They may think they deserve what they're getting, or they may even feel that they're required to inflict those things on others. So, if you have that kind of thought patterns and feelings going on, it's going to totally skew what both these rules were meant for. So let me give you an example. If a young man grew up in a home where he was constantly pushed to be perfect, then as an adult, he views imperfection worthy of punishment. So his wife doesn't get dinner on the table on time because she's caring for a sick child, which most of us would, realize is a valuable thing to do, and something that you can't necessarily prevent. But he's looking at that as her imperfection and wants to punish her with neglect and criticism. So that's what he is used to getting, and that's what he would expect others to do to him, so he may in turn do that. So you can see that's a little bit off. That's really not, what kind of behavior we want to be encouraging. Another example would be, somebody who's used to being given everything without having to work for it. And there are people around like this, So as a young adult, a particular woman believes that she should be given a hefty raise because she showed up on time each day. Although she hasn't met any of her stated goals for her job, and the company is no better off because she showed up. But she seems to think, I showed up, I should be given a good raise. So that's what she wants. Should the boss give it to her? Yeah, I don't think so. So, as you can see, the human factor can mess up both of these rules, and there are potential problems with them. So, in conclusion, I think that we need to be aware that both rules exist and then apply them when appropriate. But using common sense and critical thinking, we have to look at the bigger picture. You don't just blindly follow some rule. Somebody might say, follow your parents when you're younger, and then your parents tell you to jump off bridge, because they're having, a mental illness problem. Certainly, we would hope that that person would not do that. So use common sense, critical thinking, and look at the big picture. Someone may not want things that are healthy, or they may feel they deserve poor treatment. And in those cases, wisdom is definitely going to supersede, and we're just going to have to adjust our actions accordingly. So in this case, we have to be willing to enhance our health and the health of others. I think that these rules help us do that. They really help us focus on different types of healthy living. And in the process, we may even identify some barriers that need to be broken through. All right, so our second part today is Dr. Terry's health tip and challenge for the week. So one of our listeners, Cheryl, had come back to me with a question. She had listened to my cautions against drinking too much diet soda, and she wanted to know if sugar-free gum was also a problem. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So, if you look online, you'll start to find some articles that talk about the problems with chewing sugar-free gum. And I found a pretty good article by Robin Coney. I'll certainly include the links on the webpage in the show notes. So she listed 7, and I'm going to read those for you so you can kind of get a feeling of what she's talking about. You can have jaw problems from chewing. There are definitely artificial sweetener risks, just like with soda. It can cause headaches. There's a lot of other fake ingredients in sugar-free gum that may have harmful effects also. You may be masking a problem. So if you are to chew bubble gum, for example, you'll have a flavor of bubble gum in your mouth. If you chew some type of mint gum, you might have a minty flavor or a minty smell. But that does not actually cure a bad breath problem. Bad breath problems are often related to some type of medical issue that's not being tended to. So we might just kind of disguise that and not realize that there's an actual health issue. There's some thoughts that it may hinder your metabolism, slow your metabolism down. And then last but not least, Robin talks about excess air that can be swallowed and can cause stomach aches. There's a couple other links that I found that I'm going to include in the show notes, but I'm not going to get into super detail. But they also warn of the potential risks of too much artificial sweetener, sugar-free gum. One is from the livestrong.com website. Another one is by Bill Chamides, the former dean of Duke's Nicholas School of the Environment. He was dean from 2007 to 2014, and he wrote an article called "The Not So Sweet Skinny on Sugar-Free Gum Sweeteners." So I'll include a link for you on that as well. So, I also know that it's important to not just read web articles when we're looking at a topic. So I went into the research and started really digging into some of the research on this topic. And really, to be honest with you, there are both blessings and curses, or, pros and cons. There's evidence on both sides. There are some things that gum actually is very good for. It increases saliva production. It can improve bowel motility. It's been known to increase relaxation, decrease stress, and also can occupy your mouth when you're trying to not eat or smoke. So there is research available on all those benefits and additional benefits as well that I'm not going to have the time to get into today. But likewise, there are also the cautionary things, ways that things are potentially harmful. So here is the challenge. It's just to evaluate your sugar-free gum use. Are you using it for a medical reason that's recommended by a care provider? Is your gum use just occasional? In those two cases, it might be totally fine for you to keep doing what you're doing. However, if you are using sugar-free gum on a regular or excessive basis, it might be worth cutting back. Why risk it if you don't have to? Switch to drinking water. Right now, while I'm taping, I'm drinking water with some fresh lemon in it, and that keeps something going on in your mouth that is a beneficial thing. So, I'm not going to say I never use gum. I sometimes do, especially when I travel. I like to chew gum, and, that's fine. But if you're doing it excessively, you could be exposing yourself to a lot of garbage that you really don't need. Okay, and moving along, the second major part of our podcast today has to do with gratitude. So, here we are in November. It's November 4th as I'm taping this in 2016, and Thanksgiving Day is coming up very quickly. So it's a great time of year to be thinking about gratitude. Just a quick definition for you. Gratitude is the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for, and to return kindness. So I think a good way for us to look at this topic is the old 5 W's and an H. You may remember those from, schooling, the who, what, why, where, when, and how. So we'll look at each of those, and I just have a few thoughts on each. So who should be thankful? Everyone, okay? That kind of boils it down to, make it simple. Everyone has something to be thankful for. Now, I didn't say you're always going to feel like it, especially if things are not really working out your way. But you can benefit from an attitude of gratitude. As a registered nurse with, over 25 years of nursing experience, I have seen people lose even the basics of life and still remain grateful. I can recall patients that were smiling on breathing machines, on ventilators. They had just been told that, they were in the last weeks of their life, and they were still glad to see their visitors, things that made them happy, things that made them joyful. So here's a few things to think about that you may not have appreciated lately. Got air? Yeah, be thankful that you can breathe easily. I have asthma problems, and right now I'm doing great. However, if I get a bad cold, I will be wheezing and I will have difficulty getting air in and out of my lungs. Sometimes people with breathing problems like me resort to recliner chairs instead of a bed because you can't lie down flat. So if you have air moving easily in and out of your lungs, don't forget to be thankful for that. We take things for granted. Got vision? Can you see? Be thankful that you can see. Not everyone has the ability to see the things around them. In Pennsylvania right now, we've been seeing all the leaves change colors and fall to the ground. I spent about 5 minutes today just looking out the back door, watching leaves fall. It was beautiful, so be thankful for that. Here's a good one. Did you just have a fight with someone? Well, there's something to be thankful there too. You can be thankful you have the ability to speak, I'm not encouraging you yelling at people. However, be thankful that you can speak and that you have the ability to argue about something, and that you also have a sound mind and you can form an opinion. So these are things that we don't want to take for granted. So that was who should be thankful. I also talked a little bit about what, but in summary, for the what, the basics: clean water, safe food, a roof over our homes. Not everyone across the world has these things, so they're definitely worth being thankful for. So those are the basics, but also be thankful for the blessings. This year I have 3 highlights that I really want to be thankful for. They were definitely blessings. After 5 hard years of work, I completed my doctoral degree. At the end of August, my diploma came. It says September 7th as my official date. And I no longer have to spend endless hours working on that and paying tuition bills. So huge blessing that I am immensely thankful for. And all the people who helped me. I didn't do that alone. I had the help of my family, my friends, coworkers, teachers. There were just so many people that made that a possibility. Secondly, my husband and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, another highlight in our lives. To be married for such a long time is just becoming more and more rare. So I'm definitely appreciative of that, and definitely appreciative for the nice vacation to the Caribbean that we were able to take. And thirdly, my parents were able to celebrate their 50th anniversary this year. And so obviously even more rare to make it to that point. So another thing that we're grateful for. When and where should we express gratitude? Anywhere and whenever it comes to mind. So that's another real simple one. You also may want to make it a regular habit. So some people will discipline themselves once or twice a week or even daily, setting aside just a few minutes to appreciate your life and all that you've been given. Sometimes we just miss the obvious things, the plants that are growing, the flowers, the trees, the rain. There's, that one of those famous songs, Singing in the Rain. It's just a wonderful thing, and you don't want to miss those things getting overly focused on the negative. All right, and the next thing, why should we be grateful? Well, in this answer, we could get really philosophical or very spiritual, but instead I'm just going to keep it, rather lighthearted and just give you a few general reasons. So first of all, what are your other options? Okay, so if you choose to not be thankful, what else are you going to do? Choose to be miserable? Misery loves company. So you can hang around all day and night with your fellow mopers. That is going to be a real exciting time. The other thing is being positive, a glass half full kind of person has many health benefits. And we don't have time to get into great details about this today, but another day perhaps we can explore some of the health benefits of being positive. But, overall, you benefit greatly from choosing to be thankful. There are a lot of personal benefits. Also, you can help other people. One person can truly change the mood in a room. Your words really do impact other people, and you can change something that was spiraling down the negative drain into a real positive perspective on things. So, you can either bring people down or encourage them to focus on the more positive things of life. So help focus people on the positive and the blessings, and you will have an effect that'll go beyond yourself, and that's a wonderful thing. And our last section, how should we show appreciation? Well, perhaps some of you have great ideas that you'd like to share. I encourage you to share them in the comment section after the podcast on the website, but I'll share a few ideas to get us started. Perhaps you're one of those people who's naturally appreciative and you just do it all the time. It comes out. Somebody does something, you respond instantly, you go home and send cards, you're right there on top of it. I have to tell you, in all honesty, that's not me. I'm a more work-focused person, and I'm more inclined to do your dinner dishes than I am to send you a card. That's who I am. I can't, change that. I can work on ways to be better with that, but I can't change who I innately am. So if you're like me and these things don't automatically flow out of your mouth or your fingertips, you're going to have to make a point of doing it. So every time that you go over someone's for dinner, or someone gives you a gift, or they do something nice for you that they really didn't have to do, make a point to send them a thank you. It can be an email, it can be a card, it could even be just a verbal thank you out loud. So certainly you can do that. I've had friends that have thanked me for things on Facebook and Twitter. It's just awesome to have people making sure that happens. And you can really cause some hurt feelings if you don't. So, don't let that slip by. Another how is that sometimes you might want to develop a regular habit of being grateful. You can do this through a daily journal that you can, keep track of things. I had a Facebook friend that this year, for many, many months in a row, she was regularly listing her thanks and appreciation online. Hey, you can even challenge some friends to do it, let's challenge each other to a 10-day thankfulness challenge or something like that. So there's, definitely options. And the one last way that I wanted to talk about is being thankful even when everything didn't go as planned. I can't lie to you. There are times when things don't go as planned. You hoped this would happen, it didn't. You were praying for that and it didn't work out. So things don't always go our way, and that is part of life. Everyone will, have that experience at one point or another. But you need to find things to be thankful for anyway. And I am going to share a personal example. Those of you who know me personally know that this happened, but those of you who are just listening in for the first time or don't know me real well, I've been teaching at the same university for 7 years full time, and I loved many aspects of my job. However, I just really felt it was time to move on and to start expanding some of my other skill sets. I just felt I had more to offer beyond the classroom setting. However, when I decided to not renew my contract, I had to get on the ball and really start looking for another job and getting into resume writing and interviewing. And, there's a lot of competition for jobs, and it's been challenging to go through all of that. And sometimes, you sit and wonder, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing? I definitely did the right thing. It was time to do it, but it was a risk that I was taking when I made that choice. A risk that I would not have, a steady income for several months. However, what I wanted to point out is I am still thankful for so many things that were involved in that job change. I am immensely appreciative of all the opportunities that I had. I was able to work with excellent coworkers, literally hundreds of high-quality students that are out there caring for patients today. They are nurses all across the country. I know a few have even left the country, so in other parts of the world. And working with each one of those people was a rich, valuable experience that I am so grateful for. And I've had many opportunities to grow both personally and professionally. And sometimes the most challenging things that we dealt with, that I dealt with or that you will deal with, are the things that help us grow the most. So there's definitely, things to be thankful for, even when, life is not a bowl of cherries. So, okay, so let's talk about a few reflection questions. I'm not getting a whole lot of comments on the website, and I don't know if that's because you're busy or thinking or think that I don't care. I certainly want to hear your comments. I know that other people who are listening in would love to hear what you're saying too. So these reflection questions, I hope you'll take the time to answer some on the website. So I have 3 here for you. Number 1, are you a gumaholic? If so, consider cutting back or stopping the sugar-free gum use altogether. If you're not a gumaholic, you probably, are doing fine, don't need to change anything. But if you are, you don't want to be harming yourself from a little habit that you've developed. So consider cutting back. Secondly, is there someone in your life that would benefit from more regular use of the golden rule or the platinum rule? So are there people there who are like your sandpaper, who are rubbing you the wrong way and irritating and possibly could even be considered your enemy? Are there ways that you could shine greatly on them through use of the golden rule or platinum rule? And if so, are you ready to start using them today? And then last but not least, this one's probably the easiest one to answer. What are you grateful for today? That's a great question as well. And if you'd rather, you can share the answer to that on the Facebook page or some of the other platforms that are out there. So, in wrapping up today, I would just like to encourage you, if you're someone who uses iTunes or Stitcher Radio or any of the podcasting tools that allow you to leave feedback, I'd appreciate it if you would take a few minutes to leave me an honest review. Any new podcast, advertising is, by word of mouth is going to be your best way of getting the word out that your product exists, and written reviews really help with that. You can also share any of my blog posts or podcasts directly from my website on Facebook, Twitter, and I've even started developing a little bit more of a social presence on Instagram, Pinterest, and Google+. So if you prefer those, that would be great too. So I hope you learned a little bit from our discussions of the platinum rule, gratitude, and sugar-free gum. This is Dr. Terry Wenner, and together we're going to break through as many health barriers as possible and live happier, healthy lives. Until we meet again, enjoy some wonderful days.